Why do you have this? Ava's voice trembled as she held up the crumpled paper in her shaking hand. Julian froze. Answer me, Julian. Why is my childhood drawing in your wallet? The moment hung heavy between them. She married him for money, only to find a childhood drawing in his wallet that revealed he loved her long before she ever knew he existed. But before we start the video, let us know where you're watching this video. And if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe, Story Store, and please share your thoughts about this story in comment section. Eva hadn't meant to snoop. She was just looking for her phone in Julian's coat pocket. But when her fingers brushed against the worn piece of folded paper, her curiosity kicked in. She never expected to see that. Now, standing on the balcony with her heart racing and the drawing clutched in her hand, she couldn't stop shaking. It was unmistakable, her drawing. A crooked house, a yellow sun in the corner, a stick figure girl with wild curls and a purple dog. The exact one she'd made at age 7 during art hour at the orphanage. Her name was scribbled in big, uneven letters. It had been lost decades ago. And yet Julian, the billionaire stranger she'd only met 3 months ago, her husband by contract, had been carrying it. All this time. "Where did you get this?" she asked again, louder now. Her voice cracked, caught between fear and fury. Julian stepped closer, his voice low. "Eva, please listen." She backed away. "Number, you said you didn't know me before we met. You lied. This was mine. This means you knew exactly who I was when you married me." Julian's jaw tensed, but he didn't deny it. "What else have you lied about?" she whispered. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The night air turned electric. And then, crash. The wine glass slipped from her hand, exploding on the marble like her trust. Her pulse thundered in her ears. For the first time, she realized, Julian Thorne had known her far longer than she'd ever known him. And that meant their entire marriage. Every carefully signed agreement, every shared smile, was built on a truth he'd buried. But why? Hours earlier, everything had seemed normal. Or at least, as normal as a luxury marriage of convenience could be. Eva had spent the evening alone in the library of Julian's penthouse, flipping through an old photo album she found tucked behind leather-bound classics. It wasn't hers, but something about the album felt oddly personal. Page after page, she saw Julian as a boy, distant, quiet, reserved. But then, one photo made her still. A group shot of children at what looked like a foster home. Her heart skipped, because in the back row, partly out of frame, she was there. 7 years old, same curls, same wide eyes. Her fingers trembled as she touched the photo. Was it really her? She turned the page. That's when she saw the second clue. A name written under the photo in blue ink. Ava, the girl who gave me the purple dog. Her breath caught. How long had Julian known? Had he been searching for her all these years? Why hadn't he said anything? Her heart pounded with questions she couldn't unhear. That's when she'd rushed to find him, searching for answers. And instead of a conversation, she found her childhood drawing in his wallet. Everything she thought was real had just unraveled. The morning after the confrontation, Eva sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the marriage contract that had started it all. She remembered the day she signed it clearly, 3 months ago. Julian Thorne, the enigmatic billionaire who barely smiled, had offered her a deal she couldn't refuse. 1 year of marriage in exchange for financial freedom. A carefully outlined agreement. No real intimacy, no questions. At the time, it felt like survival, but now, every word of that contract looked like a carefully crafted trap. Why her? Why had Julian chosen her, out of millions? He'd claimed it was random. said he needed a wife for business reasons, a woman without ties or baggage. But if he had her childhood drawing, if he'd known her from before, none of it was random. And then she remembered something. That first day they met, when he handed her the pen to sign the contract, he'd smiled just for a second. A flicker of emotion, like he recognized her. She hadn't thought much of it then, but now it haunted her. Ava closed the folder slowly, her fingers tightening around its edge. She needed to know the truth. Who was Julian Thorne before the contract? And why had he waited all these years to bring her back into his life, without telling her? That evening, Eva found herself drawn to Julian's study, a room she rarely entered. The door was slightly ajar, and something on his desk caught her eye. A small, sealed envelope with her name written in neat handwriting. Her heart thudded as she opened it. Inside was a letter, carefully folded, smelling faintly of old paper and cedar wood. "Eva," it began. "If you're reading this, then the drawing and photos have already raised questions you deserve answers to. I kept this letter hidden for years because I wasn't sure if I'd ever find you again or if you'd even want to hear the truth. I didn't marry you just for convenience. I married you because you are the only person who ever mattered to me. Long before I ever saw you again. You once gave me a purple dog drawing, the only thing I've ever treasured. I never forgot you." Tears blurred Ava's vision. Was this real, or another game? She looked up and saw Julian standing quietly in the doorway, a vulnerable, hopeful smile on his face. For the first time, Eva wondered if this marriage might be more than a contract after all. Julian stepped into the room, his eyes searching Eva's face for any sign of anger or doubt. "I should have told you everything from the start," he said quietly, "but I was scared you'd reject me once you knew who I really was." Ava's hands trembled as she clutched the letter. "Why didn't you tell me? Why keep all this a secret?" Julian sighed deeply. "Because after losing you once, I wasn't sure if I'd find you again. When I saw you at the orphanage photo, and later when you walked into my life, I wanted to protect you. I thought if I revealed everything, it might scare you away." His voice softened. "The truth is, Ava, we've been connected since childhood. I was the boy who found your drawing and held on to it, hoping someday it would lead me back to you. I never stopped looking." Tears welled in Eva's eyes, part relief, part confusion. "Marrying you was never just a business deal," Julian admitted. "It was my chance to finally be close to you, to make up for lost time." Eva swallowed hard. The contract on the table now seemed like a fragile barrier between them. Could she trust him? And more importantly, could she trust herself to open her heart again? The next morning, Julian took Eva to a small, tucked-away park near the orphanage where they both had lived as children. The sun was soft, casting golden light over the playground where memories lingered like shadows. "This is where I found your drawing," Julian said quietly, pointing to a faded bench near the sandbox. Ava's breath caught. She remembered sitting there, drawing happily, unaware that a boy was watching her from behind a tree. Julian smiled, the vulnerability clear in his eyes. "I kept that drawing as a promise, to find you again." Eva looked around, the weight of years melting into a strange warmth. "Why didn't you come sooner?" "I tried," he confessed, "but life kept pulling me away, business, family obligations. I never stopped hoping." For the first time, Eva saw Julian not as a stranger or a businessman, but as a boy who had carried a secret hope for decades. They sat on the bench together, silence filled with unspoken stories. It was a moment neither expected, but both needed. A beginning that felt like a chance to rewrite their past and build a future not on contracts, but on trust and something deeper. The city buzzed around them. But here, time felt still. And Ava knew this was just the start. Back at the penthouse, just as Ava was beginning to believe in a new kind of hope, a sharp knock on the door shattered the quiet. Julian frowned, exchanging a wary glance with her. He opened the door to reveal a woman in her early 40s, with kind eyes but a serious expression. "Julian," she said softly, "I'm Marianne. We worked together years ago at the orphanage." Eva's heart skipped. Could this woman hold answers? Marianne stepped inside, pulling out a worn photo. "I wanted to make sure you knew the whole story about Eva and about you." Eva's eyes widened as Marianne began to recount tales from the orphanage. How Julian had secretly helped a little girl who was shy and scared. How he had quietly left small gifts for her. How their paths had crossed more than once. But, Marianne continued, there was something else. Eva's parents left behind a letter, hidden for years, that could change everything about their story. Julian's face tightened. "I never told you about that." Eva looked between them, the mystery deepening. What was in that letter? And why had Julian kept it hidden? The past was unraveling faster than she could keep up. And now she had to decide. Was she ready to uncover the truth, no matter how surprising it might be? Marianne carefully unfolded an old yellowed envelope from her bag and handed it to Eva. This was found tucked away in Eva's belongings when she first came to the orphanage. Marianne explained softly. Her parents wrote it but never had the chance to deliver it. Eva's hands shook as she broke the seal, unfolding the fragile letter. The handwriting was elegant, filled with love and hope. The letter spoke of a promise to always find her no matter what. A vow that she was never truly alone. But then, a line made Eva freeze. "If fate keeps us apart, know that Julian, our son's closest friend, will protect you until we return." Eva blinked, rereading the words. Julian looked at her, his eyes wide with a mix of relief and sorrow. "That's why I've always watched over you, from afar, because my family and yours were connected in ways we never understood." Eva's mind raced. Was their meeting truly coincidence, or had their lives been intertwined by fate from the very start? Marianne nodded. "Your parents trusted him, even in their absence." Tears spilled down Eva's cheeks, not just from the shock, but from a growing sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. Julian reached for her hand gently. "We have a chance to rewrite our story, Ava, together." The question now was, would she take it? Outside, the city lights flickered as if waiting for her answer. Ava sat quietly in the living room, the letter still trembling in her hands. Julian poured 2 cups of tea, his usual calm now softened by the weight of their shared past. "Your parents, they trusted me because our families were close once," Julian began. "Long before you and I met, our parents were business partners and friends, but tragedy tore us apart." Ava's eyes searched his face. "So, you knew about me all along?" Julian nodded. "I did. After your parents disappeared, I promised them I'd protect you. That's why I kept your drawing and photos reminders of the promise I made." Ava's heart ached with a strange mixture of pain and hope. "But why not tell me? Why the silence?" "Because I wanted to find the right moment," he said softly. "And I was afraid you wouldn't want me in your life." She looked down, overwhelmed. "All these years, I thought you were a stranger, but you were my guardian." Julian reached out, taking her hand gently. "I want to be more than that now. No more secrets. Ava felt a flicker of something new, a fragile trust beginning to grow. Outside, the city buzzed with life, but inside, two lost souls were starting to heal, connected by a promise from the past and hope for the future. Days passed, and Ava found herself slowly letting down the walls she'd built around her heart. Julian's presence felt less like a contract and more like a quiet promise. One afternoon, while organizing the study, Ava stumbled upon an old wooden box hidden beneath a stack of papers. Curious, she opened it to reveal a collection of letters, photos, and a small dusty diary. Her fingers trembled as she picked up the diary, its cover worn, but the pages inside still legible. Julian entered the room, his eyes widening when he saw the box open. "That belonged to my father," he said softly. "He kept it after the accident. It holds secrets about both our families." Ava flipped through the pages, discovering letters that spoke of a friendship torn apart by jealousy and betrayal. Not between their parents, but between powerful business rivals. The diary revealed a hidden alliance, a promise to protect Ava's family at all costs, even when it meant sacrifice. As Ava read aloud, Julian's voice joined hers, piecing together the puzzle of their intertwined histories. "This changes everything," Ava whispered, a mixture of shock and relief washing over her. Julian nodded. "It means our families weren't enemies after all, and maybe it's time we write our own story, one built on trust, not fear." For the first time, Ava felt the weight of the past begin to lift, replaced by hope and possibility. Outside, the city shimmered, ready for their new beginning. Just when Ava thought all secrets were out in the open, a call from Julian's lawyer changed everything. "There's one final clause in the marriage contract," the lawyer said, his tone cautious. "Julian added it privately, without informing anyone. It becomes active only if you choose to leave." Ava's brows furrowed. "What clause?" Julian hesitated before explaining. "If you ever walk away, everything I own, the entire estate and company, goes to you." Ava's heart pounded. "What? Why would you do that?" "Because this was never about business to me," he said, stepping closer. "I wanted you to have security, even if you never chose to stay." Ava's breath caught. It wasn't just a generous gesture, it was love. Quiet, selfless love that expected nothing in return. "I didn't marry you for your money," she said, voice shaking. "But now I don't even know what to believe." Julian handed her one last envelope. "Open this when you've made your decision." He left her alone in the room. Ava sat in silence, the weight of everything pressing down, years of loneliness, sudden revelations, and a man who had loved her in silence since childhood. The envelope felt warm in her hands, sealed not just with ink but emotion. What if this wasn't just a contract, but a second chance at something real? Outside, rain began to fall softly against the windows. Inside, Ava held the power to rewrite not just a deal, but destiny. Ava stared at the sealed envelope for a long time. Her fingers trembled as she finally opened it. Inside was a single page with Julian's familiar handwriting. "Ava, if you're reading this, you've already seen the truth. I never wanted to buy your presence. I only hoped to earn your heart. If you choose to walk away, I'll understand. But if even a small part of you believes our story deserves a real chance, meet me where it all began." Below the message, the old park bench, sunset. The moment felt unreal. Ava stepped into the dusky evening, her heart pounding as she reached the familiar park. The same bench where a little girl once drew a picture of a smiling boy, and left behind her past without knowing he'd carry it with him forever. And there he was, Julian, sitting with his hands clasped, eyes searching the horizon. When he saw her, he stood slowly, uncertainty in his gaze. Eva walked up to him and, without a word, placed the childhood drawing in his hands. "I was always looking for you," she whispered. Julian smiled, eyes misty. "And I never stopped waiting." As the sun dipped low, the past and present finally aligned. Not with grand gestures, but with something quieter, stronger, real. No more contracts, no more secrets. Just two hearts, once lost, now found, writing their true beginning beneath a golden sky. And for the first time, Eva wasn't marrying for money. She was staying for love.